The eye of the beholder. David had always been an average man with a steady job, a modest apartment, and a life marked by predictable monotony. His days blurred together, each one indistinguishable from the last, until one fateful morning shattered his fragile sense of normalcy. It began as a peculiar itch in his right armpit. Not an ordinary irritation, but a deep, burning sensation that refused to fade. He tried ignoring it, but the itch burrowed into his consciousness, gnawing at his composure. Finally, he stepped in front of the bathroom mirror, lifting his arm to investigate. What he saw stole the breath from his lungs. Nestled in the tender flesh of his armpit was an eye, a vivid, green, human eye. It blinked, synchronizing with his rising panic. David staggered back, clutching at the sink for support. He returned to the mirror, hoping, praying. It was a trick of the light. But the eye remained, unblinking now, as if it were studying him. At first, he was repulsed. The thought of something so alien embedded in his body made his skin crawl. He scrubbed at it, tried pinching the surrounding skin, but the eye only wept a thin trail of tears. Then came the visions. They started as faint whispers, flickers at the edge of his consciousness, like static on an old television. But soon, they sharpened, flooding his mind with vivid images of places he'd never seen and events that hadn't yet occurred. Faces, tragedies, triumphs, all flashed before him in kaleidoscopic bursts. His heart raced as he realized what the eye could do. It didn't just see the present, it glimpsed the tangled threads of future possibilities. More terrifying still, it allowed him to alter them. The first time he used its power, it was almost accidental. He saw himself missing the bus, arriving late to work, and being chewed out by his boss. He reached out, instinctively willing the outcome to change, and it did. The bus lingered an extra minute, and he arrived on time. A minor miracle, but one that filled him with equal parts awe and dread. Over time, David grew bolder. He avoided car accidents, narrowly dodged falling debris, and sidestepped confrontations before they even began. The eye became a gift, a grotesque, unholy gift, but a gift nonetheless. But the changes, no matter how small, exacted a toll. After his first alteration, he noticed a few stray gray hairs in the mirror. He brushed it off as stress, but with each successive intervention, his body aged faster. His once youthful face sagged, his joints ached, and his strength waned. His friends noticed too. "You look tired," they'd say, their concern genuine but laced with unease. David waved them off with vague excuses about sleepless nights and poor nutrition, but inside, he knew the truth. And yet, he couldn't stop. The power was intoxicating. He saved a friend's life by ensuring they took a different route home, avoiding a fatal car crash. He secured a promotion by preventing his boss from making a disastrous financial decision. With each success, he justified the sacrifice. He was making the world better, wasn't he? But the eye had a mind of its own. As David tampered with fate, it began to grow restless, pulsating beneath his skin like a second heartbeat. Its visions turned darker, images of fire, collapsing buildings, and shadowy figures whispering his name. Sleep became elusive as the eye seemed to remain awake, its green pupil glowing faintly in the dark. One night, as he lay in bed, his body frail and his mind teetering on the edge of sanity, a vision seized him with brutal clarity. An earthquake. Massive and catastrophic, it would strike the city in 3 days, reducing skyscrapers to rubble and swallowing thousands of lives. He saw it all, the streets cracking open, people screaming for help, and blood staining the ruins. David woke up drenched in sweat, his heart hammering. The vision haunted him, replaying in endless loops. He knew he could stop it, he had to stop it, but the cost? The following day, he began planning. The eye guided him, showing him the delicate threads that needed pulling to avert disaster. A slight adjustment to the construction of a dam here, a whispered warning to key city officials there. The task was monumental, each intervention draining years from his life. His reflection became a grotesque parody of his former self. Sunken cheeks, trembling hands, a ghostly pallor. As the day of the earthquake approached, David felt the weight of his decision. The eye burned with intensity, its green pupil now clouded and bloodshot. He could feel his body deteriorating with every passing hour, his life force slipping away. When the day arrived, the city remained intact. The earthquake never came. People went about their lives, oblivious to the cataclysm they had narrowly avoided. David, however, was no longer a man. Collapsed on his bed, his body was a husk, barely recognizable. His breathing was shallow, his vision blurred. The eye in his armpit, once vibrant and alive, had grown dull and glassy. It closed for the last time, sealing his fate. As he lay there, the world around him carried on, blissfully unaware of the sacrifice that had saved them all. David felt an eerie calm in his final moments. He had wielded the power of gods, but at the cost of his humanity. The darkness crept in, wrapping him in its cold embrace. Somewhere, deep within the void, he swore he heard a whisper, the voice of the Eye, promising that his story was far from over. And then, nothing but silence.